FESIG, the free energy special interest group where science meets spirituality in the quest for truth and knowledge to free humanity and transform this planet into a paradise.
Hi everyone. Hi, this is Crystal. Welcome to FESIG 130th meeting. Today is the 6th of November, the day after the elections in the US. Exciting times, folks. I thank you everyone for taking time off to join us here in this meeting live. I now want to share screen our PowerPoint presentation so you can see the agenda for today's 130th meeting. Right. Okay, so this is FESIG, the Free Energy Special Interest Group. Welcome everyone, viewers who are new to us. We are the platform where science meets spirituality. We have our meetings once a month with some of the world's most brilliant speakers coming in. 2 speakers at a time, session 1, session 2. So this platform is offered to you for free to join us. And we thank our speakers for speaking here, taking time off to be with us, to teach us and show us their knowledge and share with us whatever they could so we can progress with what we have come here to do. Now, today's session, we have the first session, Simon Parkes, the one and only iconic Simon Parkes of the UK, coming in here to grace our platform. He's the initiator and founder of Connecting Consciousness. He will be interviewed by me, Crystal, about his mission on the planet. Simon is respected by the media as an authority on various ET races and beings, having a lifetime of experience with extraplanetary life forms as well as military. Well, I will read the bio later because he is a very renowned personality and needs a proper mention in the bio, in the full bio. The second session, we have Dr. David Clemens, who had worked on free energy with Bearden Bedini on Tesla's technologies. He will be coming on in the second session, so folks just stay on, don't go away. He will be revealing some inventions that will be good for our consciousness and ascension modalities, so it's good. Now, once we've finished with the Q&As and all that, then I will adjourn our 130th FESIG meeting to the 131st, which will be on the 8th, oh no, sorry, which will be on the 11th of December. It's the second Wednesday of the month, folks. Please bear in mind, it's not the first Wednesday of the month, because the first Wednesday of the month, the 4th of December, I will be traveling, so I can't do the meetings. And then subsequently, the 132nd meeting will be on the second Wednesday of January, because the first Wednesday is the new year, the 1st of January, so it has to be held on the 8th. And they will be in Southeast Asian time, I'm afraid. So the meeting will be starting at 1 p.m. UK time, GMT, I'm afraid. And 2 p.m. European time in the afternoon. So those who are working, I'm afraid you may not be able to join, but we have it recorded, so you'll be able to catch up. So write to me, crystal@truevisionofpeace.com, if you want to recommend a fantastic, super duper brilliant speaker like Simon and Dr. Clemens. Our website is truevisionofpeace.com/FESIG. Go to our channels. YouTube has been messing around with our numbers and reducing and removing our videos. We would have had 500,000 views like 4 years ago. 5 years ago before the COVID, but it's being reduced. But then we have started BitChute Odyssey. Simon will have to go to BitChute, so he doesn't have to be careful what he says, so it's fine. We won't get a strike. All right, so join our Telegram channel, okay? You will find us in the description. Thank you, folks. So now I'm going to stop sharing and introduce Simon properly. Oh, Simon is so renowned and well-loved worldwide, especially here in the UK. He's like, I wouldn't even say he's second to David Icke. They are both on par. Sorry, Simon. All right, about Simon, he's the initiator and founder of Connecting Consciousness. He is the British former elected politician. He served a number of terms in office, and in addition to his spiritual awareness, he has access to helpful sources of information, not only due to his family background. His mother worked for the British Domestic Security Service, MI5, and as part of her work, wrote documents about UFOs that crashed on Earth and were recovered by American Special Forces. She also reported to the NSA, the National Security Agency of the... Yeah, okay. His grandfather worked for the British Secret Intelligence Service, MI6, and was very closely associated with the American CIA. He was a British diplomat and later served at the United Nations. Simon Parkes has a lifetime of experience with extraplanetary life forms as well as military, and went public with this in 2010. In 2013, he was invited by the British Ministry of Defence to a secret British space radar station as a quasi-confirmation of his background. Since then, he's respected by the media as an authority on various extraterrestrial races and beings. Now, over to you, Simon.
Well, first of all, thank you.
Thank you,
very
Simon.
wonderful to be asked to join you. I'm very honored, and thank you for that very respectful right. It's always, I think, very arrogant for any speaker to imagine that everybody knows who he or she is, and there are plenty of people who don't know me for many reasons, and so I think you gave a very helpful overview, so thank you for that.
Thank you. It's every speaker who comes in here gets the due respect and honor of having their bio read properly. Yeah, some interviewers just don't bother to do that because they assume that everyone is known. Yeah. Oh, right, Simon, now that you're here on our platform, we have a lot of questions for you because you are known for having the ability to answer even very tricky, difficult questions.
Okay.
We are in awe, and so our people here are so excited. They were like, every now and again they would tell me, oh, is Simon speaking today? Yes. So we've got questions for you, Simon. To start off with, well, I must say you are fantastic with the work that you do here on the planet, because you have a growing international network of 25,000 members worldwide in over 100 countries.
No. Over 100,000 members.
Oh, I'm sorry. I beg your pardon.
Right.
Over 100,000. I must have been listening to the old podcast that says
you
25,000.
were, yes, you've gone back in the time machine.
I'm sorry, Simon. Oh, all right. 100,000 members worldwide. Wow, that's a feat. Yes, over 100 countries. Or is it more than 100 now, Simon?
It's over 200 countries.
200 countries. Whoa, you've grown very fast, exponentially. And in many of these countries, groups were formed with CCs. You call them CCs, right? Connecting Consciousness Coordinators. CC Humanitarian Project Funding is only available to Connecting Consciousness members. So I urge you to join Simon. So if you have a humanitarian project, you will be able to apply. Simon has signed an agreement with the White Hats, right, Simon, to do the RV, to be in charge of the RV. Simon, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. There are a number of individuals and organizations throughout the planet that have been approached to play a role in rolling out or delivering projects. I'm very honored that I have been approached, and if I'm approached, that means the organization that I set up, Connecting Consciousness, will be the delivery agent for that. We don't really know how that's going to pan out at the moment. I think we'll wait for the inauguration on the 20th of January for President Trump. And then I think that those of us who are in the driving seat will be engaged with, and a pattern will emerge. I can say that it won't happen in every country at the same time. There will be key countries where the delivery will take place, and Connecting Consciousness will be very interested to see which countries will activate first and where we have a role.
Exciting times, especially last night. Many of us stayed up all night watching the news, and well, last night's US elections, where Trump finally got to take back the Oval Office as the official 47th president. This has actually brought us such a relief, hasn't it, Simon? As a mega man yourself, a big mega man in the QAnon team, I presume. How does it feel, Simon?
It was expected. We knew it would be a landslide. I think he'll probably end up with 290 college votes. Some people predict 300, but I thought if he gets 290, I'm happy with that. It's been intensely 4 years of pain for all of humanity, except the bad guys. But for all humanity, it's been 4 years. From some perspective, it's wasted time as far as I'm concerned. I would have loved to have been going 2 years ago, getting projects doing, but it's never was my time frame. And I accept the time frame I'm given. So we can't wait. We want to get started now. Yeah,
it's been an absolute pain in you know where, for light warriors, light workers like ourselves. Everything was on hold. It's so painful. Well, at least for the next 4 years, when Trump will be finishing off the draining of the swamp, cleaning up the remaining dark pockets of the dumps to set things right and straight, we would see some light at the end of the tunnel, wouldn't we, Simon? What say you on that?
Oh, we're expecting on the 21st of January legislation going through the US to remove fluoride from drinking water, and at the same time legislation to do away with chemtrail. So that we expect on the day after he's inaugurated. In terms of reducing government, going to reduce government initially by 10%, and then by a further 10% afterwards. So Elon Musk will take the role in reducing the federal government. And I think that's a part. See, the issues now aren't the politicians in America. The issues are the managers. That's where the issues are. So by removing lifelong employees, just sending to retirement or giving them a job upstairs and replacing them with people who want to put humanity first, there won't be the blockages. What's happened in the first term that Trump had was that the instructions went down the pipe, but they were blocked by this faction. So this term, this office is going to remove that faction so that things can happen within the 4-year time frame.
Wow, geez, what a relief. No. So you were talking about the first thing he's going to do is to ban fluoridization on the water, drinking water in America. But we are over here in the UK, we are big on fluoride. So are we going to follow suit?
It's a good question. It's slightly different in Great Britain. It's done on population. So if you live in an area with a certain population, they fluoridate the water. If you live in a rural area, they don't bother because they don't have to worry about controlling an area with just a small population. I think it's, in all cases, America rules the world. I know a lot of people don't like that saying, but it is a fact. If America does it, it'll catch on. It won't happen immediately. Maybe it'll take 12 months, but I would think all the English-speaking world will ban fluoride. The question is, what other products will it remain in? So, for instance, I think people will say, look, you don't have a choice over drinking water. If you've got plenty of money, you can buy bottled mineral water, but if you don't, you have to drink from the tap. But you don't have to buy fluoride in a toothpaste. So I don't think what Trump's proposing is to attack the multinationals just yet. What he's proposing to do is immediate health benefits straight away. There are other things up his sleeve, which will come out as the time goes on.
Wonderful, wonderful news. Yeah, a step at a time. We are not expecting him to tell the dentist, don't use fluoride either. Not right away, yeah, but
That's
gradually
funny.
we're going to get
That's
there.
funny. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, me too. So dare we be hopeful that through Trump's leadership steering America into the light, to set off the domino effect with the rest of the world,
Yes.
humanity is finally being pulled back on track, on the right
Yes.
trajectory now to be freed to work
Yes.
towards ascension?
Yes.
Cool. That is good news. Right. No single business leader did more to support the former President Trump than Elon Musk, a former. Now he's president, of course. Yeah, he donated nearly 119 million so far to a political action committee he set up to support Trump. Well, we all guess that he's got an ulterior motive because he wants to get into the decision-making policies and all that as well, right? So that will help him with his Starlink and
I don't agree with that.
SpaceX.
No,
You
I
don't
don't
agree?
not
Okay.
at all. No. What happens is that Trump sits down and he decides who he calls to his side. And he then decides what level of influence those individuals will have. So Mr. Musk will only have the authority that President Trump gives him. Mr. Musk is also 100% supporter of not just President Trump himself, but for the policy he's brought up. Don't forget, Starlink is much more than just a communication device. And Mr. Musk was put in as the figurehead for that. So the media, the mainstream media, will portray Elon Musk as a businessman elbowing for leverage, but that isn't the way it works with Donald Trump. You sit around the table and the boss says to you, this is what I want you to do, and you do it. So that is how it's going.
Oh, thank you for clarifying that. Thank you, Simon. Okay, so how do you see, well, whatever you had said that the agenda is for Elon and that Trump's very much in control, he's still entering politics in a way anyway, because Trump already announced that he wanted to make Elon part of the policymaker team in his office, right? And so
no, he's not going to have a normal position. He will have an affiliate position. He won't come in as a government holding post. He will be more as an advisor. So therefore, it's easier for Trump to allow Elon to not divest himself of all his businesses. The President of the United States has the right to bring in anyone he or she wants and then say, I allow you to maintain your business holdings. You don't have to pass them off to a third party. You can still maintain them. But you can't do it if you're in one of the big positions of office. So as long as he's not in a big position and he's an advisor, he'll do that. So that's how I understand it's going to occur with him.
Yeah, that is truly, good and honorable. Otherwise, it would be like, oh, what is that terminology called? Well, anyway, you can't mix both. Yeah. So, but with Elon advising Trump, I suppose Trump had already promised the people that he was the one, in fact, much earlier on, years ago, lobbying for the advanced technologies from the secret space program to be released to humanity, right? So would you see that happening much more in our advantage?
Right. So Elon Musk won't be advising President Trump what to do. President Trump will be telling Elon Musk what to do. Elon Musk will not be brought on as an advisor. He'll be brought on as an enabler. So he will not advise the president. The president will say, this is your department. These are the teams that you manage, and this is what I want you to do. So that's the role. It's a top-down role. In terms of the secret space program, you know, and everyone here knows, that it was a well-known kept secret. But in his first term of office, what President Trump did was threaten the cabal or the bad guys by showing what appeared to be to the public, but the reality was to the cabal, that he, President Trump, had been accepted as the commander-in-chief of all of the armed forces, which included the secret space program, because if you remember the Georgia Guidestones, they were hit by a directed energy beam weapon, which was part of the secret space program, and also the camper van outside one of the Dominion machine offices was hit by an energy beam weapon. So these were public demonstrations which were very clearly aimed at the bad guys to say, we have something you don't.
Right. The energy weapon that hit the Georgia Guidestones,
Yes.
is it like an ET technology? I mean, we possibly can't do it that way, right?
Yes, there was a dual approach here, because American scientists had been working on a ruby laser since sort of the late 50s, early 60s. And in fact, it was the James Bond film that actually portrayed a laser beam, even though there was nothing working, because they'd been shared secret information. But that was back engineered from the Roswell, one of the crashes in Roswell, where the Greys had a small stick about, I don't know, half the size more than the Shappy pen, which was used for animal cattle mutilations. And they obtained that, but the first elements they got were very basic. So yes, it was back engineered, but there was also a separate pathway that the Americans were working on with ruby lasers.
Wow. I mean, okay, so talking about this advanced psychotronic weapons and all that are not privy to humanity in masses, that is used to control the masses. So why aren't the control opposition being curtailed by the benevolent ET's consciousness technologies when humanity's consciousness is heavily hijacked?
Because, and I can speak personally from the experiences I've had, if I sat around a table with non-human entities and they offered a deal or something in such a way that I was influenced to take it, then in terms of how it be recorded by the Akashic records, it would be valueless, because I hadn't reached that decision or my viewpoint myself. So what the non-human or non-Earth groups have been doing is trying to level the playing field, attempting to provide technology such as quantum technology, which is 250 years at least ahead of what we should have had at this time. So providing an equal playing field without actually interfering and taking responsibility. For the last, goodness knows, for the last 7 or 8 years, I have publicly said to those who would listen to me, stop looking for the 7th Cavalry to come and save you. You are the 7th Cavalry. You have got to save yourself. And so this is a fact. Evil or non-helpful entities seek to control without permission, and good entities ask permission, but even at that level, they don't ask permission, because even if it was accepted, that help would have broken the paradigm. So it's a law that they abide by, but the bad guys don't abide by that.
Oh, Simon, you know what? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude. I was just saying, To hell with non-intervention. What the hell? I mean, we've been interfered with so much, and we have been like intervened and put on a petri dish, and it's so unfair. It's so one-sided because they've got all those advanced technologies and we're not privy to it. And so they hijack our consciousness as well. So it's not fair. I mean, what is...
No, it's not fair, but the point is that this grouping that's come to the aid of humanity is relatively recent. For a very long time, the attitude has been leave them alone. They're not relevant. We can't be bothered. And then when it became apparent that dangerous AI was attempting to infect here, and it was realized that unless a fire break was put on this earth, this contagion would spread across other dimensions. So we became a battleground, and the good guys who always wanted to bring in others to help were able to bolt on the aspect of let's help them evolve. The planet is evolving to the fifth dimension. It wants to take its life beings with it. Let's get involved in that. So from a very individual point of view, groups or federations or just groups of beneficial non-humans attempted to come and have an assistance. That's when we got the embargo on the earth. Portals were shut down, very difficult for lower fourth dimensional entities to get in or out. In 2015, of course, connecting consciousness, we took a very big step to neutralize the Hadron Collider, which is recorded in mainstream news. It did shut down for the 3 or 4 minutes that we did our work on it. So we were aware of certain pivotal points in Earth's history where we were weakened, or the frame or the skin between this reality and the other's realities was very thin, and the bad side were attempting to breach and get in. And although the good guys weren't prepared to act themselves, they were prepared to help others to do the work.
Right. So that brings to the question of the who gives the hands
The orders.
down policies, the policies,
who gives the instructions or the orders? Yeah.
Instructions.
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of what you were going to say. There are an awful lot of commentators in the alternative media, and some of them are, I think, very accurate, and some of them are completely not accurate. There isn't a one overall group that can speak or order the directions. There is a very loose grouping of factions whose what holds them together is this overall argument that if they lose the battle here on Earth, it will come back to bite them. And therefore, that is what holds them together and brings them involved. So what will happen is there is a communication between the American military, predominantly, and off-planet entities, and they have all of the main forces. The United States Navy, the Air Force, they all have their own channels, and they haven't lost those. They weren't prepared to give those up. But there was after Obama left office, there was an overall channel that Trump created, and you have people like Vladimir Putin, Modi of India, Xi Jinping of China, who are the lead group on the earth, who are connecting with their appointed representatives off this planet. Then there's a debate off this planet, and then they come back and say what they're going to do.
So that brings the question of, okay, who are the bosses really? I mean, if we're talking about the secret space program, we're talking about the corporations that are governing, well, from those days during Eisenhower's time when the Greater Treaty was signed in 1954, yeah, and that was the start of the SSP, wasn't it? That is even more pronounced. And and then there is the world's top corporations joining forces together to sit in the council. And so there is a governing council there that decides the planet's directions where we're going. So there are bosses giving directions, instructions, and they are with the off-planet councils as well from the Galactic Federation of Worlds. So there are many, many layers like onion skins, right, Simon? So the majority of the people who are working with the White Hats are really very good and well-meaning with the best of intentions for humanity, I understand. Although the policies and the decision-making and the instructions and directions that are coming from the top are veering them towards creating disasters for humanity as a species with all this endless whatever that we have shenanigans that we have been witnessing the last 4 years. So have you come with this big question mark? Who is the boss really? And why are they dragging this on for so long? And has anybody actually taken the trouble to look into talking to the big boss out there and say, hey, this is not right?
So basically, that all fell apart under the Bushes, people like Dick Cheney, when the Mars Corporation was dissolved. Obama literally had the tail end of it and ran off to the poles, Antarctica, etc., to see what he could drag up there. When Trump took over, the whole arrangement was changed, and corporations make money. And, you know, if there's only one game in town, that's the game at the table. But what Trump did, he came up and set another game up. And the corporations decided to get up from that card table and go and join his table because he offered a change in direction, but the ability for them to still make money. And that is proved today because if you've had the chance, I don't guess you guys will have done, but if you've looked at the Dow Jones, it was at 1,200 points and it's at the highest level it's ever been. If you look at the dollar, the fiat dollar, it's now the strongest it's been against a number of currencies that it's ever been. And that is because the corporations want to do business. And what the president, the boss will do, he will sit down, Trump will sit down with them and say, if you want to make money, this is what you do. So the pattern that you have described was the pattern in charge when you know, we had the Bushes in office. It began to fall apart when the military turned against them under Obama, and now I have a very different set of command structures. I have no concerns whatsoever now.
Right. Simon, you've been taken off planet. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask you this.
What do you mean just now while I'm speaking to? It's a British joke.
Oh, it's a British joke. Okay, yeah. Right. Am I
yes, you can.
allowed
Yes.
to ask?
What I think Carol, my PA, tried to explain, and there was, I think, a bit of a difficulty, is that I'm very happy to answer any question that you put to me. But some of the images you wanted an image of a mantid or a mantis, and as I say, at the moment, that's off books until the house is settled and all the rest of it. But I can take any questions you want.
I understand, Simon. I respect your criteria there, but I didn't do that out of disrespect because we are an awakened group, and we understand that each and every one of us carry about 22 of the root races of the ETs out there. I could be a mantid myself, you know, part of the 22 of my DNA strands, and Arcturians, Pleiadians, Andromedans, we all have it. just that people are not aware of it. I mean, the masses behind this group. So, well, we're not talking about that then. Okay, let's just leave that aside.
No, you can talk about anything you want. What I'm saying is, I couldn't allow the picture. I couldn't allow the picture. I couldn't allow the picture of myself associated that at that time. But
I understand.
Because pictures pay 1,000 words. But whatever questions your audience have, I'm very happy to take that.
Yeah.
You know, I won't shy
away. I apologize because it was out in the public like 10 years ago. I thought it's already understood.
Yeah, I wasn't in the RV 10 years ago.
I understand. Yeah. So coming back to the line of questions we've got for you. So humanity's ascension trajectory. Earth as an experimental station had been controlled, subjugated, experimented upon, enslaved. The evolution terribly suppressed by its conquerors and controllers certainly attracted a lot of interest from the malevolent ETs. Well, of course, the benevolent ones wants to come in and well, you know, help, but they're not allowed because of the rules and the policies and the non-intervention and whatsoever you call it. So it has the malevolent ETs has an unfair advantage, very covertly using the advanced technologies to reap, plunder, and steal even our own precious divine soul essence, because we know that the secret space program has actually harvested souls as well on the white light reincarnation track. So we know. So what on earth is the so-called Galactic Federation of Worlds doing up there to allow all these atrocities? Where is the free will choice that was taken from us?
It's a long question. That's a long question. First of all, I don't recognize the term the Federation. I don't recognize that at all.
Okay.
No, that's not. There is an overall council, but that word of federation, I personally has never been used to me. That is too human. It's too it's just too comic book. It's not like that at all. It's much more dynamic than that.
We are here to learn, Simon.
Well, I'm not here.
Share with us.
I'm not here to
share with us what you think.
I'm only here to attempt to put what I've experienced personally, not what I've researched. I love you very much because you're one of the few people who have not accused me of being a researcher. I am sick to death of being introduced as a researcher. I do not research. I'm an experiencer. And I'm not knocking people who research. That's very important. It's very vital. But I didn't go to university to learn how to research this aspect. It's what I've had. And so when I speak from what has been, sent to my head, because I don't use voice, of course, it's all telepathy.
That's the beauty of it, because you're genuinely bringing the truth that you experience. And we are all ears, Simon. Yeah.
Well, don't mind me saying, the questions that you've read so far are quite negative. The questions that you have put forward are about victimization. We are being held down, we're being kicked, we're being this, we're being that. How about finding some questions that, I don't want sweetness and light, unicorns and rainbows, but how about something that isn't all about we're the victims? Because over the last 4 years of this political shenanigans, I am sick to death of people on the alternative media who tell us we're going to be destroyed, we're going to be murdered, we're going to be this, that, and the other. And I've argued against that. So I don't want to hide from reality, but my viewpoint is much more positive and happier than many people who are in the alternative media.
Oh, then we are all ears. We love the good news, Simon. We are sick and tired of the negative ones as well. With the the opposition coming in, bombarding us with this information. All right, do tell us the good news, please.
Tell you the good news. But remember I said to you that I prefer to do an interview because I don't like to stand on a podium and talk unless I do something for Kerry Cassidy and then I have a brief and I work to a screen and do that. I much prefer to try to engage with the energies of the questioner so that I can match my energies to the frequency of the question, and therefore hopefully make more of an impact. I can't just
then
do anything news.
Thank you. I mean, thank you, Carrie Cassidy, for bringing Simon into our platform. If not because of Carrie, you won't be here, right? Simon, because you're picky on who is going to interview you, right? Oh, okay. The question is, I'm all excited about the scientists and inventors. Well, this is a platform where science meets spirituality, right? Now we see a new genre of inventors coming in who are in touch with the spirit within, who are pulling on messages and guidance from their higher self. Like Dr. David Clemens is working through the Elohim and the ET teams, the benevolent ones, to bring him information and guidance on how to come up with some inventions that's going to help us clean out all the contaminations and whatnot in our etheric field and whatnot with the quantum energy fields. So is that well on the way, Simon? If you have any information to tell us that is a given, that we are allowed to have this rolled out now, the advanced technology.
So one question that came up, what do I and my family do in our spare time? Well, we like to collect fossils. So we go and collect fossils. We're rock hounds, I believe, in America refer to us. We would call that paleontology. So that's what we do there. For centuries, selected human individuals on this planet have received downloads, have received coaching and assistance from both sides, actually, good and bad. And it was long understood that it was better not to work with the government, but to work with individual people who would be empowered to influence a part of society. And so to give them the tools in order to do that. So I know a mathematician might receive some fantastic download at night, especially from the Palladians, and then he or she would go back to their work and, hey presto, they produce something. So that is something that, of course, the CIA very fascinated on, want to observe and watch these chosen individuals. I'm not going to use the word targeted, but people like the CIA have a very, very advanced program to observe people who are receiving that assistance and help. And it will just continue to go on.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because you set up connecting consciousness with your, CCs in 200 countries and all that with 100,000 members. Well, surely you would have had some applications for humanitarian projects coming in with fantastic breakthroughs in technologies. If you're not privy to talk about some of these new technologies that are coming in, that gives us hope, because there have been a lot of damage done, right? I mean, even in our R&D team itself, we have people who are having cancer and all that. We need some hope. Simon, could you give us some positive knowledge on that one?
Sure. The Pentagon holds quite a large number of patents which have been obtained, sometimes not perhaps in a way that we would expect to be obtained, but were not released because it wasn't the right time to do so. The Pentagon has a long history of empowering corporations or organizations and gives them the work, and then that organization runs with it and claims it as their own. And that's the only way to get this out into the public without it being traced back to something else. There will be a direct release of these special patents through the corporations. There will be, in terms of med beds and other technical advancements, which will not be released to the corporations, but will be run specifically by the military, although it will be franchised out to other organizations. And I'm sure that Connecting Consciousness will, when the time is right, be invited to sit around a table, and we will see what they'd like us to be involved with.
Oh, well done, Simon. That's really wonderful news. And you were talking about the you signing an agreement with the White Hats about the RV, the revaluation, which people has been buying the exotic currencies and have been keeping them and waiting for it to happen for over 20 odd years now. So we are all excited about you taking up this role in rolling it out when the time comes. Have you got any latest information that we need to know about?
So you've been very clever there to put a first question, which anyone who listens to me knows that I don't agree with that, with a quite a charming second question. I have never put forward the concept of redemption centres in terms of buildings where members of the public can go along and become millionaires, billionaires, or trillionaires. I do believe that there will be a set series of banks which will give the bank rate. But no one's going to come out dancing to be millions and billions there. If there was, you wouldn't need organizations like Connecting Consciousness. You wouldn't need all the other groups who are part and parcel of the art. Because, hey, if all the ordinary people, I don't mean that disrespectfully, I mean ordinary in the terms that they are not part of what we call the contract group, if they were all going to get $1 billion, why would we need Connecting Consciousness to deliver projects? So I have always been told that I am the approved individual. I have signed a number of NDAs. I lead this organization. I will be empowered, and through me, I will empower my organization, because the White Hats do not have the time or the resources to vet thousands of people. They have a hard enough time with their own security side, but people outside of that field, they tend only to deal with those individuals they've known for a very long time. 5 years, 10 years is not enough. You do not know a person in 5 or 10 years. If you know somebody before they were even born, you have the records in previous lifetimes when they incarnated on the planet, then you know that person. And so those individuals in that position will engage with people that they absolutely trust, who cannot be corrupted, who won't change from the path that they set out to do. Those are the people that will be entrusted to deliver some form of change on the planet.
That's good to know. Thank you, Simon. Oh, that brings the question of, I'm just, reading off some questions from the members. That brings to the question of Jessara, Nasara, which the basic income, Swiss Indo. Is it tied in together with the so-called RV, monetary system, the new quantum financial system? Does roll that out, or is it just disinformation?
No, it's not disinformation. The RV is a standalone, separate procedure which triggers the balancing act for humanity. The problem for those of us who see the world from a different perspective than the bad boys is that we know that the human race can't find the time to look inside itself, to develop, because it's too busy putting gas in the car, it's too busy buying groceries, it's too busy sending the kids to college. And so if you improve the financial aspect of every living creature on the planet, they are no longer having to fight to survive. The hope is, and the question that was asked earlier about what you do in your free time or spare time, the hope is that people then will start to educate themselves outside of the mainstream bubble. So if your social security goes up, if your tax goes down, your wages will rise as a sort of a secondary objective of what's happened, but basically taxes will reduce, so people will be immediately better off. And that, we hope, allows people. The problem is that most people on this planet don't know what it is to be human, the real sense of the word, to be a human, because it's been knocked out of them. And you cannot educate somebody in 5 minutes on this. You just can't do it. What you've got to do is to give them the breathing space so that they can then sit back and think, oh, that burden's off my shoulders. Now, who the hell am I? What am I doing here?
Exactly.
And that can only come about when the materialistic world is taken off the back of the humans. That's what it's about.
Precisely. That answers your question, Jerry. Jerry has put forth the question. Yeah, the pressure's off and we can start on track with our evolution. Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, so we have another question from Jerry, actually, Simon. He wants me to ask you about Jerry's from Sweden. He's Swedish, and he has got the history of Scandinavia here to present to you with a question. He said, a Norwegian Viking king was the first king in a crusade to Jerusalem. King Solomon's treasure disappears. The Vikings were the only that sailed the Atlantic and knew of it in this time. Did they transport the treasure to Canada and buried it there for safekeeping?
The custodians of the artifacts are the Knights Templars, the secret arm of the Freemasons, a very secret arm of the Freemasons. And in fact, Becky and I were at a meeting where we were approached by one. It was very interesting. The wealth I've always called Solomon's gold. The wealth that is to be redistributed to the human race, I've always referred to as Solomon's gold. That did not end up in Canada. Some of the artifacts did, that's true to say. Many of the artifacts came to a country called Scotland, which is the home of the Scottish Rite. But the wealth found its way into modern day Asia. And it is that wealth that, if God wills it, Source wills it, that wealth will be returned to the people. You see, Solomon didn't just want to provide the wealth for the Jews. He actually wanted to provide that wealth for Egyptians as well. In fact, all of the community in that part of it is Africa, though some people don't consider it Africa. So it was always labeled as the wealth of humanity. That was the point. And fortunately, the custodians of that wealth now also hold to that view that this is not their wealth. They hold it in trust for the wider humanity. Oh, sure, they're going to take their percentage. That's business. We get that. But the reality is that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to achieve what Solomon could never achieve, because the dynamics around his kingdom at the time, he didn't have a President Trump. So it's many, many thousands or hundreds of years later, we are now back at that point.
Wow, Simon, you're really incredible. It's just like proven that you really pull on to your higher self to get all these answers. I mean, these are deep questions. And Jerry did say that you'd never done any research, as you said, but Jerry did some research and he said, yeah, the Templars are from the Vikings lineage anyway. You are right, spot on there. And okay, so some of the artifacts are in Canada. He said the European royal families are of Viking bloodlines, and they were all over Europe and had command of most waterways and ports. and lots of Scandinavian people were exported to the New World. Was this a way to get lots of obedient people there, he asked?
I think it was just about, I mean, you know, the world wasn't really fully known by most people. And so, unfortunately, people were resources, still are, people were assets. And the Vikings, who probably second to none in being able to traverse the oceans, were able to, you know, establish trade routes. And that is power. Look at my country, Great Britain. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny country, but because it pushed all its money into building warships right back, King Alfred the Great, sort of, you know, over 1,000 years ago, it's projected its power in a way that should never have. How can this small country own nearly half of the world as it did? But that's the reality. And what the Vikings had was this ability to connect royal lines, royal families, matchmake. That's what the Vikings did. They matchmake, because if you wanted safe passage from one part of the planet to another, you got the Vikings to take you, because the Vikings protected you. They knew the waterways. And so the royal families were intermixed. So it's true to say that the Viking blood can be found in many. And sometimes they misappropriate it and say it's Germanic blood. So, for instance, King and Queen Victoria was a German, but the reality is that it's the Viking element that can be found underneath all that.
Gosh, it's really amazing, fascinating how you add the bits and pieces to Jerry's research here, the history behind his ancestors. The Nazis, he says, were educated in Sweden in the 30s. The Kaiser Wilhelm Institute was a copy of the Rasbiologiska Institute. The Institute of Race Biology in Uppsala in Sweden. Lise Meitner from Austria was the first woman to split the atom in Germany in 1938. She fled to Sweden and probably worked with that in this country, in Sweden. And she met a relative near Gothenburg during World War II. The relative was a member in the Manhattan Project. Did she teach them how to build the bombs? How did that come about?
Just around 1933, just after Hitler became chancellor, a deliberately crashed flying disc was brought down or crashed into the Black Forest to allow the new regime to back engineer certain materials from that. And I have spoken in the past that one of the downfalls for the Nazi regime was that they decided not to look at the cold fusion reactor, which powers those particular craft. They decided to look at the aerofoil. I beg your pardon. They decided to look at the shape of the aircraft, the disc, and they went down that end. Now, in 1941, 42, when a similar craft crashed in the southern states in the US, the Americans went for the cold fusion reactor, and they decided to make a bomb. So the Americans were less interested in the flying capability of the craft and much more interested in how this device could become a weapon. That is why the Americans got to the nuclear bomb first. But the point about individuals on this planet, there are a number of individuals who've been receiving downloads for the good of humanity. You know, did not the guy who create dynamite do it for the right reasons? Never intended it to be used as a bomb. So lots of people received downloads to help humanity, but when a dictatorial government took over, it wanted these people, and so they fled. In terms of the Manhattan Project, although Einstein was part of it, he was not the leading part of it. A couple of Germans who were leading, and it was by and large German technology in terms of the math that produced the weapon, although the uranium came from a captured German U-boat, which was on its way to Antarctica. So the Americans had been able to develop the trigger mechanism to detonate Tall Boy and Fat Boy, the two bombs, but they hadn't been able to source enough uranium. There were only a few uranium places, you know. One was in Paris, for God's sake. One was in Paris, in France, enriching uranium. Heavy water, of course, in Norway, and a couple of other places. But really, it was very, very primitive. So when the Americans captured, I forget the U number of the submarine, they found enriched uranium, which was on its way into Antarctica. And here's the funny part, that uranium from Germany was used to bomb Germany's ally, which was Japan. So back to your first question, individuals often are empowered by both sides. And that individual has a choice whether he or she will work for the good side or the bad side. And in many cases, they decided to work for the good side. And, you know, they left. Now, those who had children couldn't, because they were told, we will kill your wife or kill your children if you leave. So we shouldn't always blame people who stayed behind. They did so because they were blackmailed.
Right. Simon, I'm in awe how you got the details of the answers to Jerry's questions here. There are a couple more about Scandinavia before we move on to the other more impertinent ones. Now, have the true leaders of the cabal been hiding in Scandinavia for thousands of years? Is the Wallenberg family currently in charge? What will happen now?
No, they're none of them are in charge now. That's all gone. There are an awful lot of people on social media who like to throw certain names out. That's all gone. It's finished. I'm not going to name names. There are individuals who are reviled on social media in the banking world, absolutely reviled. I can tell you they've sat around with President Trump and they are going to be empowered to deliver the RV because they are good. The evil people have been removed. And so the world's in for a bit of a shock because some of these key names are going to be doing humanitarian projects. There are a number of very, I'm going to use the word royal, but I'm not going to use it in a human term. There are a number of royal lines that an arrangement or an agreement has been made where the good guys will leave them alone, providing they do not interfere in the affairs of humanity. And by and large, that agreement has been struck and has been made. Remember, the portals are closed. These guys can't leave. They can't leave anymore. So do we want 1,000 years of war or do we want 1,000 years of peace? So it's a combination of buying the peace and maneuvering your enemy into a position that it is advantageous for them to accept the terms that you offer. That's what's occurred.
Wow. Right. Okay, that comes to mind another question about the 64 chromosomes, about the 12-strand DNA in Homo sapiens sapiens humanity. I mean, they've been suppressed and dumbed down so much. Again, you're going to say I'm negative there, but that's the truth. And when is it? Because the time is now, right? It's the ascension descension cycle of 26,500 years
500
precisely. Yeah, 500. Yeah, around there. So the time is now, timeline. So we can't miss it. So it is fast reactivating, right? The what you call that? The DNA that is fast asleep is opening up. So people are getting their third pole open. So they are getting psychic clairvoyant. They're getting downloads and all that. But you are natural. You've been since young and birth. But I see many stars.
I don't think I'm natural. One person said to me who worked for the NSA when he first met me, somebody has gone through a lot of hard work to get you the way you are.
Oh, so the junk DNA wouldn't automatically be reactivated just because the time is now, the 26,500 years is now.
Let me answer the question as best as I can. Let's go back. The difficulty that humanity faces is that it wasn't one race that came back every 250,000 years, 300,000 years, and altered what was a evolved form. Humans have been around on this earth for a very long time, but we de-evolved. A number of different alien groups came back and started to play around to create a form of living creature that they had no plan for. It was just something for them. Then another group came along, very, very benevolent, that decided that we'd be brilliant as workers, and we were made intelligent enough to work, but not intelligent enough to see the prism. Now, originally, I believe humanity had 12 strands of DNA, and 10 of those strands exist out of phase around our body. Those 10 strands were taken away, but the laws do not allow them to be destroyed or removed from the host being, because they belong to that. That's their property. So they were just like the Templars would take an object of very great worth and hide it in plain sight. So these 10 strands were put out of phase with our reality, leaving us with 2 physical strands. So we're intelligent enough to work, but not intelligent enough to see anything. But these strands, like a dog that has been separated from its master, have been seeking to come back. And so these strands are fighting to come back. And in different individuals, those individuals have actually reconnected. Now, sure, if you went to a doctor, they'll only see 2 strands because they're only looking for the physical strand. But those individuals have reconnected, not in case with all 12, but maybe 2 or 3 strands. They are experiencing that new opportunity. What will happen, I believe, is when the Earth moves very quickly through the lower 4th, a little bit more slowly through the upper 4th, and then settles into the 5th, this is the opportunity for individuals who, through their own choice, have decided to take this way forward, that those strands will reconnect. Now, the junk DNA is junk because generally humans don't use telepathy. If I had a control group, I had 10 million Americans, and I took away 1 million cell phones from a bunch of people and hid them, a large proportion of them would create telepathy. And one of the plans in having cell phones is not just it makes corporations money, it stops the human creature developing. Because why do you need to be telepathic if you've got a phone? So if you don't have a phone, you become more telepathic. That's why the First Nation people in the United States were more telepathic than the white incomers, etc. And so it goes on and on. But what is coming is the opportunity for an individual, for he or she to choose which way do they want to go. So it's a bit blatant to say we're going to divide like that. It's not going to be a physical division, but there will be an energy division. And those who need to go back to school and do it again or do something again will do that. And those who are ready to move on will move on.
Yeah, here, folks. This is very important for you to know. Thanks, Simon, for reminding us this. So Elon Musk, Starlink, and SpaceX, and all that advanced technology is not doing us a favor, isn't it?
It's doing no.
On the contrary, it's a deterrent.
No. You're being very naughty. No, we've been gifted as the guardians of the human race a quantum machine. You see, a supercomputer, which currently is water cooled because of the huge temperatures it creates. That's why they have them in Antarctica and they have them in space as well. That's not widely known. But a supercomputer can only predict humanity's outcome 6 months ahead. Humans are inherently crazy. I mean that in a nice way. You can't predict how a human will be over a period of after 6 months, but a quantum computer can, because a quantum computer operates at the speed of light. It is powered by light. And so what we've been given is a machine, a device, which can predict very clearly the future. And you need Starlink to play a part in that, in the way it will interact with humanity, not by running the lives of humans, not by taking over the way they do things, but providing humanity with a safe and secure technology that the cabal or anybody could not hack into and corrupt. So Starlink is merely a tool of the original decision to empower humanity. It is not another product to make money. It is a vital component for a 1,000 year of peace across the planet.
No, I'm just using that as an example of technology may not be such a great blessing for humanity's evolutionary trajectory. Yeah, thank you, Simon, for putting it in that way. Yeah, of course, we appreciate Elon. And here I have a question from Metis, who is so excited about you coming to speak at our platform here. Metis Bro has said, thank you to you and Becky. Becky, thank you so much. And Carol for facilitating Simon here on our platform. He's asking for what you're doing for, thank you for what you're doing for humanity, Nisara Jasara. It was originated by Saint Germain since Christopher Columbus. Yeah. What is your take on that? By the way, I'm following you since Wolf Spirit Radio. Yeah, JP, gosh, what's happened to him? And a happy member of CC for many years. There you go, Simon.
Oh, well, first of all, I'm deeply moved when somebody appreciates that I don't sit in a 12th floor office separate. If I'd been in America, I'd be a millionaire now, but I'm not, because I never wanted to go down that road. You know, joining CC is free. You don't charge a membership fee. There's no subscription, because I didn't want to mix money with the energy of love. It just corrupts. So we can endorse products, we can take donations, but I don't charge a entrance fee. And God bless them, the White Hats have done quite a lot to try to get me to monetize my organization for perfectly good reasons, and they've said no to that. In terms of you know, you sort of talk about Christopher Columbus. The world has changed, and changed markedly, and the option of Nasara Jisara had to happen. We'll go back to the last question, when the time was right. And this is the right time for it, because it wouldn't have been right. I mean, Kennedy tried it. He was a man ahead of his time. 9/11, of course, was designed to steal the gold, because the White Hats were going to try and do it. This is the third time they've tried to do the RV, and that's why the boss was involved, President Trump, because they had to do it in a very different way. So when somebody thanks Becky, myself, Carol, or any other members of the team, it shows me that they have an appreciation of the amount of work that actually is done. I'm not saying anything bad about people who spend all their life in front of a screen doing 3 or 4 podcasts a day. And, you know, that's what they do, and that's their role. And they get a kick out of it, and I'm sure it does good. The route that I've taken is remarkably different from that, because at the end of the day, I am using an AI to communicate with people. Jesus in his day couldn't do that. He had to go down and find a place where the villagers or the townspeople met, and he would stand and talk to them. So what we have to do today is to use the technology that's available. It doesn't mean it's evil. It means it can be used for evil, but it can also be used for good. And so if you believe, and you won't be deflected from your belief system, and that works for good and bad people, then, you know, you can achieve things. Unfortunately, the bad people achieved things until quite recently. It was their playground. They literally had free run of it. And over the last few years, that's not been the case. And so I'm just grateful that there are people who have watched me, listened to me, gone away, and asked themselves, does this man speak the truth? And if he does, let me go and research it. That's the researching side. Let me go and look it up and ask my heart. They should ask their heart, what is real here? Because it's no good listening to 7 or 8 different people. You have to ultimately be sovereign and go inside yourself, connect, as you said, with your higher self, and connect with God's source or whatever it is that you believe in, and attempt to find the truth. And once you find it, do you stick to it? So many people, you know, find it and lose it. They get bored, or they want excitement in their life, or they can't wait any longer. The number of people who've given up on the RV because they perhaps joined for wrong reasons. And time is a great leveler, and we're nearly there now.
Yeah, I can say this, Simon. I gave some of the Iraqi dinars to Miles Johnston, and he think it's utter rubbish, and he threw it away. God, in the bin it.
I've known Miles a very long time. Miles, we all have different journeys, and Miles got quite the rough end of the stick. And you know, he is a very skilled technical expert, and I think he worked for a radio station, he worked for Sky News, but he never got the credit that I think he was due because of his technical side. Now, if you look at him and you compare him with Kerry Cassidy, you have 2 people who have great knowledge but have engaged with the public in a different way.
But they are both working together, though. That's how I got to know Kerry through Miles.
They respect each other, and they often collaborate on work. And so, yeah, I think they're very helpful to each other.
That's cool. Hey, it's coming to the end of the first session now. I know you're so busy, Simon. I wouldn't want to drag this on for much longer because you've got other things to attend to. One last question from Jerry before we close this session. He said, I guess the gameplay in the nearest future, I'm reading from the chat, will be to take down the cabal monetary system and the reveal of the military complex industries through false flag start of World War III that will not continue. Just a scare event to make common people to start to think by themselves. Hope this will happen quickly and without too much suffering if it will play out that way. Will it play out World War III? I guess with Trump in office, I think there will be more positive things, right, Simon?
White hats generally are men, not exclusively, but mostly men in the Pentagon. They have family, friends. Why would they expose them to World War III? It's not going to happen. I'm afraid it's the same people who told you that the banks across the earth were going to crash. The stock market was going to crash. There would be no election. President Trump will come back on a tank. You see, the question again is based in fear. If you feel the energy of that question, it's all fear. And there's an awful lot of people, not through fear, but they want this to happen to prove that they were right. They want to say to friends and family, see, I told you. But that's about making themselves feel good. It's not about what does the human race need. What the human race needs is compassion, love, and direction, not told what to do, but direction, assistance, and help. And a third world war is not on the cards. The boss can pick the phone up at any time, and within 20 minutes, the war in Ukraine will stop and the war in Israel will stop. Now, whether he'll do that now or he'll wait for inauguration, I'm not privy to that knowledge. But I don't recognize all the fear factors. I recognize a program that has played out to disassociate matrix trapped individuals, to disassociate them from their government. In other words, to teach them and show them that the government is not there for their best interest. The government is not there to help them, and they'd better start looking after themselves, their family, and their friends, and become sovereign beings. Now, with President Trump, and you said this, Crystal, with President Trump in office, why do we need a third world war? Don't tell me that Putin wants to wipe out half of his country. Of course he doesn't. With President Trump in office, anything is possible now.
I remember, because you mentioned Putin, like 10 over years ago when you first came
that's
out.
absolutely right. I did.
Yeah. Wow, you read my mind about Putin getting help from the Galactics, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was kicked out of my political party
because of that.
I'd had a Skype with Putin. I've actually had a Skype. It wasn't very long, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I'd had a chat with the ambassador for the Chinese elders in 2015, who informed me of the RV and said they'd been watching me, etc., etc. And then as part of all the conversations that occurred, I had a chat with Putin, and it was obvious that a number of beneficial non-human entities were advising Putin, because at the time Obama was being advised by reptilian and demonic entities, so the pattern had to be filled. But of course that didn't suit the political party that I was involved with. So when they moved against me, I just very quietly waited until the end of my term, my third office. I did three runs, did my third office, and then I just didn't put myself forward. So nobody got rid of me. I just said, no, I've done enough now. Thank you very much indeed. So Putin's a good guy, and is portrayed as a bad guy, which the White Hats are very happy with, because they need a bogeyman. And shows how big Putin is. He's prepared to be labeled as the bad man, because he knows the overall plan is good. It's been lovely to speak with you. It's been lovely to meet everyone. And I'm sorry.
I know, Simon, hang on. One last question.
I thought you were finished.
Because you mentioned about the Chinese elders. Okay, I'm Chinese.
Okay.
I want to know about the dragon family. Would you tell us more about that? Are they the ones who hold the world's wealth, apart from the relevant?
I'm not going to. I'm not going to go into huge detail. I respect them too much. The difficulty is, of course, that none of them are holders of the Communist Party. They don't have a Mao's book, and they don't have anything like that. Most of them don't live in China. They can't afford to. They're in California or in Asia. And when Xi Jinping finally does what he needs to do, they will be very welcome to go back. So the dragon families are holding Solomon's wealth, and are working very closely with the good guys, and they are absolutely determined to better all of humanity.
Oh, hang on, Simon. Are they with the same bloodline as the Vikings as well that Jerry brought up?
They're a mixture. No, they're a mixture. Some of them are very, very China only. Some of them are really indigenous. Some of them connect to the Buddha. Some they're all different groups who have put themselves together, but they are clearly a very powerful family, but not powerful militarily. And you could say, well, if they got all this money, aren't they powerful? Well, no, because they couldn't use it, because the Communist Party wouldn't let them. What the boss, President Trump, is doing is allowing a more equal society, so that these individuals can be the people they really should be in the public as much as they want, but as part of that deal, they will empower all of humanity.
So you've been in contact with the Chinese elders, the dragon families?
I've been in contact with an ambassador from the lead dragon family, who Skyped me, Skype or Zoomed me.
Which color coat?
Red.
Oh, that one is a scammer. Sorry, I worked with him before I started FESIG.
No.
Oh,
There
he's
was a
using Khazarian tactics to wipe
no,
people out, Betty.
no. There
We
was
can have
a
a private conversation on that one.
no, no. I wouldn't discuss it privately with you. There was a faction which split and formed an independent red group. They then were made a choice. Did they want to go to the cabal or did they want to go back to the good side? And they were brought back to the good side. But just as President Trump had used some of the main players around him, I won't mention the names. So those red group were actually infiltrating the bad guys and reporting back to the white dragons.
I can't believe it because I met the red one in
Well,
Hong
there's more than
Kong.
one. There's more than one.
Right.
There's more than one. So this is a game of politics. It's subterfuge. It is at the highest level of international intrigue, and the good guys came out on top, primarily because the bad guys did not have access to the world's military, as the good guys did, and that was the kingpin. That changed everything.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Simon, for gracing our platform.
No, thank
Is
you
there
for
any
inviting me.
last words
No,
that you would like
no,
to give our
no,
people?
no. Well, okay. It sounds arrogant me saying no. Look, we've had a fantastic result with the election. It's no surprise to us. It's been a very difficult, hard road, and we wish all Godspeed to the boss. We God bless America. We want him get on with it, and I'm not being rude or braggadocious. He needs to get on with it because there is so much pain, not just in America but across the whole of the earth, and it needs to be healed, and it can't happen too quick. So it's a fantastic day, but for me it's just the start. They said to Becky, yeah, it's great, let them have today to have their party, but tomorrow, even though he's not officially in office, I can tell you he'll be working.
Here, here. I'm so with you there, Simon. We all resonate with you, and we thank you for all that you do for humanity. I've been following you since day one when you first came out.
Well, I know, Crystal. I know. I don't like the word devil. They say devil's advocate. I know a good questioner, and you are a good questioner. You will ask questions that are not simple walkover questions, and they are questions that a number of people ask. And they are generally from people who have not yet fully grasped, and why should they, the whole situation. So I'm glad you asked the questions you did. And when I return my answers, they're not, the energy level isn't aimed at you. It's aimed at the negative frequency carried in the question, which has been fed by other people who either are paid agents or not paid agents to sow discord into the community. And just like a forest fire, you have to create a break so the fire can't jump across it. So I thank you for your questions. I thank you for your time.
I thank you, Simon.
I thank
this
you.
is so amazing. Awesome. You will come back, right, at some point, if I ask you.
If your members and your team here want me to come back, then I will.
We certainly will.
And I prefer it, sounds awful, I prefer it if next time we do it, everyone here asks questions.
Oh,
I'd much rather that, because then
I wanted them.
That way, it's just the way I work. I would love that.
I wanted them too.
Well, you can arrange it if they've enjoyed it and it's been well worthwhile. Then I'm happy to do it, and they can ask the questions, and it'll be lovely. I see that Karen's got her hand up.
Yeah, you want to answer her question before you go?
I don't know what she wants to say.
Karen, you unmute yourself. Simon singled you out, so please speak up.
She's shy.
Karen is our transcriber. Okay, she's very awake. Anyway, I paved the way for you here in this group, Simon, and because you said that you wanted my energetics connection with you, and Carol was very strict about how I interview you. So I dare not open the mic
There's
for
a
the rest to ask
reason. There's a reason for that. For many years, the mainstream media attacked me and tried to beat me, and in their own admission, they failed. They were not able to get the better of me, and in the end, it changed. And I remember some years ago now, when the then Pope made a shock statement that if an alien went into the Vatican and asked to be blessed, then the Pope said that he would bless an alien. And I knew things had changed when the BBC came straight to me and said, we want your opinion on this, not to make a fool of you. We want your opinion on it. And that was because of the visit that I had to the space radar station, which completely pulled the rug from under mainstream media. Because how could somebody come out and say all the things that I've said and then be invited to one of the most top secret American, it's not British, one of the most top secret American bases on Earth. It's the only 3-phased array device on the Earth. There's one in Australia, which is 2-phased array, but Britain has the 3-phased array. And I got 2.5 hours taken round that. And there were 20 of us. I'll just go on for a minute. There were 20 of us, and I was the only non-military person there. And Flight Lieutenant Wicks of the Royal Air Force was the guide. And he took the group over one end of the control room. And I thought, I'm sovereign. I'm not going to go and listen to what he wants to tell me. I shall go to the guys operating all the controls, and they'll either talk to me or they won't. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I thought that they would be guarded. They were absolutely not. And you've got many friends in the United States, and I've said it before that I asked all the questions. What's that big red phone over there? Well, that's to the president. What's this big red phone with all the buttons? Oh, I can call any United States Air Force base by pressing. And I remember Vandenberg, because it had most of them had printed labels on. This had a handwritten label, biro, and it's because it'd been pressed so many times that they had to handwrite it. So they were very open, showed me around, and all this group were being taken around, showed the official tour, and I was down in the command room and had a really very interesting time. And I was the only one of the 20 who was presented with a challenge coin at the end of it. And I was told, this is not your property. It's the property of the United States of America. You may not sell it. You may not give it away. On your death, you may bequeath it in your will to your next of kin. It was a limited edition of 500, and it was to celebrate the fact that this space radar base had been there 50 years. And I think my numbers, they're all numbered, I think by number 42. And that absolutely shocked the mainstream news, and the opposition to me just collapsed. And that was their plan. They wanted to show the world that actually this guy is telling the truth and we value him. So it's been a very interesting life this time around.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, I've been following. And well, I wanted to say a prayer for the whole group as well, to wash away all the hurts and the struggles and the difficulties you've gone through by bringing disclosure information to humanity. And you've gone through a lot of, oh gosh, I know, I feel the hurt in my heart. Thank you, Simon, for doing all that you do.
It is, but that's what I signed up to do, because I never give in and I'll never surrender. Because if I did, I couldn't be doing this, and I would not have got this far. And ultimately, my role is now the second role, which is to bring physical development to humanity. So we're talking about projects, buildings, all the fantastic things that can happen. So that's done phase 1. I'm now ready for phase 2. God bless to you. God bless to everyone who's good on the world, and all those who aren't good. You got a chance now, I think, to change and do what's right. So thank you for inviting me. God bless
Thank
them.
you, Becky. And thank you, Carol. Thank you, Simon, most of all.
Thank you.
We love
Take
you.
care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Take care. Bye. So, there being no other business, this first session of FESIG's 130th meeting is now adjourned to the second session where Dr. David Clemens speaks. And a million thanks to Simon for doing all this work for humanity. We can stop recording now.